Welcome to another video. Today we will talk about tight ends in the 2026 NFL Draft. Now in this draft, you're not going to get some of these guys which are Colston Lovelands. You're not going to get the Brock Bowers. It's not a really generational tight end kind of draft, but there is some undervalued and some really good tight ends deep in these drafts. Now for starters, there's always a difference between run blocking tight ends, like very run blocking tight ends, and some of the tight ends that are very good pass catchers. And those pass catching tight ends that usually don't line up in line a lot, they usually become relevant in fantasy football. Now where this video is going directly, it's probably going to be more fantasy football relevant, more than just tight ends that are willing to block for your running back on 12 personnel. To show this, we're going to start off with a chart that I seen a while ago, and it shows tight end draft prospects dating back from 2014. Now it is kind of handpicked on some of these guys from that date, but here it shows receiving yards per team pass attempt, and on the bottom x-axis you will get percentage of all snaps spent run blocking, right? All the way to the far side will be some run blockers or majority blockers that played in the college level. Now the ones that are colored, they're pretty much all the tight ends coming in this class. You'll see your Oscar Delps, your Eli Raridon, and in the past, I mean, it's pretty rare to get your George Kittles, who pretty much was heavy blocker in Iowa. And as you know, in past time, Iowa was never known as having a good offense, but really good defenses. So yeah, Kittle was pretty much of an outlier right here. Now on the bottom, as you lean more to the pass catchers, you'll see the very own Keyon Sadiq. A lot of the people in the draft space love Keyon Sadiq because he came out as a freakish athlete out of the combine, and he's been hyped up pretty much all year. Now, if you ask me if I was high on Keyon Sadiq, I really am. I'm not that high on Keyon Sadiq. I'm gonna be real. Now, in terms of like his production, he never really had the production that showed me that he was like this first round top 10, top 15 kind of guy. Where you want to trust him and target him a lot. I mean, that's not what his role was in Oregon, and his production spoke for it. Last season he caught like around like 500 yards, and even then you got guys like Jamari Johnson who played next to him in Oregon that at times kind of looked better than him. So he's gonna come in the 2027 draft, so be on the lookout for him. But overall, I just think that Keyon Sadiq, I've seen some mocks where this guy, he could pretty much become maybe Noah Fant-esque. Like, they got the same size, they're pretty like undersized tight ends and pretty athletic, but is the production going to be there on every down? We won't know. I don't know. It's just it's very confusing with Keyon Sadiq. And but where this video is heading to is I'm gonna show you some of my favorite tight ends coming into this class. And as you go all the way on the top left quadrant, you'll see all the top pass catching tight ends in this class, even though they are below the blue line, which is, if you're over that blue line, you're pretty much known to be very fantasy relevant. As you see guys in the past, you get your Harold Fannons, your Brock Bowers, your Kyle Pitts, your Colston Lovelands, your Trey McBride, Sam Laportas, man, even Tucker Kraft was on that. Michael Mayer, yeah, he was like that, but playing behind a guy like Brock Bowers, it's gonna limit you. So maybe Michael Mayer moves on to another team in the near future and he becomes really productive, as he should. But alongside in that left quadrant, it shows you that there's no tight end that's really compared to those guys in this class. But let's not undervalue them. My fault. And let's look at some of these tight ends. I mean, obviously you see Eli Stowers. He's all the way on the left side, and his biggest flag is his blocking. As you heard in the past, his blocking is really, really bad. But yeah, that's the red flags that people have on him. I want to say really bad, but it's not good. Let's just say that. But we're gonna open out to explain about Eli Stowers, who is my tight end one in terms of like fantasy production, just production in general, being one of the best pass catchers in this class. This guy is a 6'4", 235 pounder. He is a senior. He started out in New Mexico State as a QB, but he switched over to tight end, playing alongside Diego Pavia. So Diego Pavia, became the quarterback. And then when he transferred to Vanderbilt, Eli Stowers went along and tagged with him over there in Vanderbilt, and he became the best receiving tight end in the class. He won the best tight end award last season. And here are some analytical stats that kind of show what goes on with him. He had a 109 QBR rating when targeted, and his yards per route run, it is the highest in this class. I mean, I don't think anybody comes close to his yards per route run. Usually this metric is used by wide receivers. 2.34 yards per route run with a 7.6 average depth of target, which is pretty good. Pretty good for a receiving threat, in my opinion. He's got good hands. He's my favorite tight end. I'm gonna be honest. Now, when it comes to where he lined up, he lined 56% of the snaps in line when it comes to run blocking. So that's pretty much half. Like, either he's in the game or he's not when it's run blocking, or he's going to be out in the slot. On terms of his route running on the routes, he's running 74% of those routes in the slot. And that's what you're going to see majority in the future of the NFL. Even now, you see some guys running in the slot being bigger tight ends because, I mean, their size, their speed, they're just getting taller and faster. And that's just the evolution of the NFL offense right now. 20% of his routes are in line, so right next to the tackle, and that's going to be his role. He's going to be a pass catcher in the NFL. Whoever drafts him is definitely going to line him up in the slot majority and not ask him to do much as in terms of blocking or, just it's going to be him on the field. When he's on the field, he's going to run those routes and he's going to try to be productive, which I know he can. The next tight end I want to talk about is Klare. Have you seen on the graph, he was pretty up there compared to the rest of the good pass catching tight ends. Now, he is 6'5", 243 pounds, good size. He is a junior. I believe he played 2 years at Purdue. He was really good at Purdue. And then when he transferred to Iowa State, he went on to add some more weight to become a better blocker, and he did block more over there. So his production wasn't as much as it was at Purdue, as you could see. He had 102 QBR when targeted, 1.74 yards per route run, which is still good as a tight end. As a tight end, you got to realize that's pretty good, because this is pretty much a receiver metric, but that's what he had. A 7.7 average depth of target, which is the same as Eli Stowers. Now, when it comes to run blocking, he's a much better run blocker than Eli Stowers. He ran 69% of his snaps in line when it came to run blocking plays, and when it came to him running routes, he ran 50% of his routes in the slot, so half of that in the slot, and 43% of those routes were in line next to the tackle. So he's very versatile. I think this guy would be a cool all-around tight end that an NFL team can snag, maybe in the day 3. And yeah, I think he showed his impact. He could be a quality tight end, and I like his skill set. I like his build. I think he could be really good. Next guy I want to talk about is Justin Joly. This guy, he's a little undersized when it comes to height. He's 6'3", but he is 251 pounds and a senior coming in this class. He spent his first 2 years at UConn and then his next 2 years at NC State. Believe it or not, his junior year, his first year at NC State, he played alongside Casey Concepcion, and he produced more than him. So take that as you will. I mean, that NC State offense wasn't that good, but let's point out the facts that he was more productive. He's racked up a total of almost 2,000 career receptions, receiving yards, 15 touchdowns in his career. It was 100 QBR when targeted, which is pretty decent. A 1.78 yard per route run, which is, I think, the second highest in this class, around like top 5. He's definitely top 5 in this class when it comes to yards per route run. 8.3 average depth of target, And when it came to run blocking, he was lined up 66% of the time in line. When it came to run blocking, 56% of the time in the slot, 33% inline routes. And man, to be honest, I thought a guy with Justin Joly, with his caliber of receiving upside, I would have thought he would line up more in the slot more. But I mean, the facts show it that he's able to be versatile, especially with his frame at 250, which is pretty good. It's not, he's not underweight, kind of like Eli Stowers, who's 235, who people call Eli Stowers a glorified receiver, but I would take a glorified receiver who produces in the NFL level any day. But you know, Justin Joly, he won't get bullied. He has a good build. He does run some half of his routes in the slot though, so that's pretty good to look out for. So I think this guy will be a sleeper later in the draft. Now, next guy I wanted to start talking about is Jack Endries. Jack Endries, he's been getting some buzz lately. He's a junior coming out of Texas. He's 6'4", 240 pounds, around the same size as Eli Stowers. He spent his first 2 years at Cal and his final year at Texas. Now, what he did at Cal was pretty much more impressive. I don't know what happened in that 2025 season. I mean, obviously they had Arch Manning his first year starting. It wasn't that pretty in the first half of the season, but they started clicking later on. He showed promise at Cal for sure. His highest season was 600 yards, 2 tutties, and that was in his sophomore year. So he's pretty much an early declare right now. His QBR rating when targeted was 110, which is good. 1.41 yards per route run, which is pretty decent as a tight end with a 6.8 average depth of target. And when it came to run blocking, he is one of the best run blockers. Like in this video that I'm gonna show, like he does spend majority of his time run blocking. That's probably why he wasn't used a lot in the passing game in Texas. Yeah, so he was spent 55% inline run blocking, and he didn't spend that much routes in the slot. 48% when running routes in the slot, 39% inline next to the tackle when running routes. So this guy, he's gonna be more of an inline guy than, you know, running routes on the slot. So this guy is more of a traditional tight end. They'll probably ask him to block more than be a receiver, but I thought this was, he had a pretty cool profile. So I think he'll be pretty decent. Not really high on him, but I think it was just someone that I couldn't really leave out the video. Now let's go over this next guy very briefly. It's Michael Trigg. This guy, he's been talked about in the media world. He spent 5 years in college. He is 6'4", 240 pounds. He is a red shirt. Now, there is some red flags I'll give you. Is probably his injury history. I mean, going into his freshman year, it was shorted at USC. He got injured and it ended his freshman year. And then he transferred over to Ole Miss. He spent 2 years, and in his final year in Ole Miss, he got injured again. So then he transferred again, and he spent his last final 2 years at Baylor. So he had 2 redshirt seasons, and yeah, his final season at Baylor was definitely his most his productive season. He racked up close to 700 yards, 6 touchdowns over there in his last season at Baylor. So that's why he's been getting some buzz over there. He is a receiving tight end. I'll tell you that he is one of those receiving tight ends. When it came to inline run blocking, he wasn't asked to do much of that. It was only 40% snaps inline when it came to run blocking. But his yards per route run was 1.87, which was pretty good compared to the rest. With a 9.8 average depth of target. So he's gonna get you some first downs over there. If I'm being real, if he's getting targeted, that's kind of what I like about him. He gets a good amount of yards when targeted. He averaged pretty much 13 receptions or 13 yards per reception in his career. But back to his lineman formations, I mean, he spent 73% in the slot when it came to running routes. So this guy is pretty close to like Eli Stowers in terms of running routes. Pretty identical, like they're running routes in the slot the same amount of time, and only 22% of the routes came from inline next to the tackle. Next guy is Tanner Koziol. this guy's going to be a sleeper in my opinion. He is a 6'7", 240-pound senior coming out of Houston. This guy, he started his first 3 years at Ball State, and then he transferred. His final year was going to Houston. And this guy is one of the guys who are a very good receiving threat in the tight end group. Now, he has a 97 QBR when targeted, a 1.66 yards per route run with a 8.1 average depth of target. This guy, I'll admit, he does spend a lot of time inline blocking, but he's not one of the heavy blockers like compared to, you know, the Oscar Delps and Eli Stowers, right? I mean, using his big frame, he's 6'7", right? He should be able to help on the line and block. So he spends 68% of the time on the line when it comes to run blocking, and then when it's him running routes, 51% of the time is in the slot. Yeah, a 6'7" slot, and then 39% of the time when it's running routes in line. So expect him more to be a power slot than anything. Now, with his size, if you were wondering what he ran at his combine, he ran a 4.7 at his combine, which is not that bad for a tight end, especially his size, and a 10-yard split of 1.62. He has a 30-inch vertical, or 36-inch vertical, my bad. Pretty solid for this class, and I think he could be a sleeper. We have John Michael Gyllenborg. This is a tight end out of Wyoming. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, a redshirt senior, or a redshirt junior, I should say. His freshman year, it was pretty much short, but this guy showed some promise in terms of running routes. I mean, I look at clips of him like doing one-on-ones, and I seen him on the field. This guy could move for his size. He really can. I mean, his yards per route run is a 1.96, which is pretty high. I think second highest under Mr. Eli Stowers, with a 6.6 average depth of target. Now, there's not a lot of talent over there in Wyoming, so I couldn't see him getting a lot of production over there. But man, when he got the ball, he got the ball, and he was really good at it. I think this guy will be a heavy sleeper if you were looking to draft guys in your fantasy leagues, like probably in the 4th round over there. So be on the lookout for this guy. Now, last guy I want to go over is Dae'quan Wright. You probably know him over there at Ole Miss. He is listed at 6'4", 255 pounds. He pretty much spent his first 2 years at Virginia Tech and then transferred over 2 years at Ole Miss. He had a QBR when targeted 110, and his yards per route run is pretty good as well for a tight end, 1.82 yards per route run with an 8.1 average depth of target. Now, this guy, he produced. His best year was his last season at Ole Miss. That Ole Miss team, they really had a good team. When it came to run blocking, 61% of the times is going to be run blocking. So he is a solid blocker. But when it comes to running routes, 49% of it came in the slot. 34% of it was in line. I mean, his average yards per reception was 14 yards per reception. So I think he did pretty decent with it. I think this guy will be a day 3 sleeper as well. I wonder if he will be like a tight end too, going into the draft in terms of like playing behind someone else. I think this guy has a decent profile. I think he will be solid all around. So we'll see. I'll say the guys I am pretty high on in this video, who are my favorites, is like Eli Stowers, Justin Joly, Max Klare is pretty good to me, and Tanner Koziol. And I'll even mention John Michael Gyllenborg is one of my favorites in this class. I hope this video helped you in terms of scouting tight ends if your team needs it, or if you need one for fantasy. Just let me know. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe for future videos where I talk about prospects and draft boards and a lot of NFL content coming soon. So thank you again, and I'll see you guys in the next video.